folks. This show is brought to you tonight by none other than justinform.com, a social media site that never steals your data, doesn't sell your privacy. Come on over and enjoy conversation with like-minded individuals and some people with a different opinion, because it's all about conversation and dialogue on issues that matter to the people. Come on over to justinform.com today and tell them that Tim Black sent you. Yeah, I think it's that time, guys. All right. We are good to go. My name is Tim Black. Welcome to No Sellouts with Tim Black. It's Monday. Glad you all could make it. Now, we ran into some technical difficulties today, but I had to do the show anyway because this is how we generate our content for our distribution point. So, if you're up, cool, watch it live. But if you watch it later, that's fine too. Also, don't forget to go to my YouTube channel where you can catch little snippets of the show, different stories in pieces. If you don't have time for the full show, you can watch it in parts and then come back. I say come back and watch the full show. All right, so what's on the menu today? Well, Cyntoia Brown, a heartbreaking story of a 16-year-old who was sentenced to 50 years in prison before she's even eligible for probation or parole. This is a story that's going to rip your heart out, guys. Stay tuned for that. Also, French President Emmanuel Macron, he cops a plea as protesters have been protesting in France for the past week. Will his plea be enough? Is it too little too late? That coming up soon. Also, Alexandria Ocasio Cries foul. She says she's treated extremely different. Different. Like there's no polarity between how she was treated and how a famous Republican who was around the same age as her, who happens to be a male, when he first entered Congress. That story's coming up as well. Stay tuned for TBTV. And you know what, guys? I want to start today off by wishing everyone, while it's still December 10th, I want to wish you a special Human Rights Day. Give it up for Human Rights Day. Now, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights began 70 years ago this very day. So it's a very important day. This is how it all got started when they decided, you know what, we're going to champion for human rights for all people across the globe. Human Rights Day is observed every year on December 10th, the day the United Nations General Assembly adopted. In 1948, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights began. Human Rights Day marks the 70th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, a milestone document that proclaimed the inalienable rights of all people. They said that everyone is inherently born with certain rights, which is a big step considering where humanity resided, what we were accustomed to, which was basically doing whatever you wanted to do. Conquer a land, enslave the women, or rape the women, enslave the men, or enslave the women too, I guess. Kill who you want, take what you want. Supposedly, this declaration would put some checks and balances in place from a global perspective. Yeah, right. Because, you know, this declaration was supposed to apply regardless to race, color, religion, sex, language, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Is the most translated document in the world, available in more than 500 languages. Except one language, English. Yeah, it's underreported, particularly here in the United States, that the United States is one of the most, if not the most, offender of human rights in the world. When we start talking about prisons, we start talking about the treatment of citizens by police, when we start talking about what we do in other countries, regime change, when we install rulers and governments, when we overthrow and work with rebels to get out who we don't like, who has been democratically elected in those countries. When we start talking about the treatment of the bombing, the drone attacks, all of these things, not just today, but in the history of the United States. Well, then we start checking off boxes there on that human rights list. So it's something that you don't expect to be covered here, because though we say we have a free press, is our press really free if 5 corporations own it? It's a good question, right? If there were true oversight, and if we truly adhere to human rights, well, we'd be making amends in Yemen right now. We'd be making amends for Iraq. We'd be making amends with the indigenous people of this country. We'd be making amends with black folks in this country. We'd be making amends with all the people who we've displaced. Those people in the Central America, places like Guatemala, where we say, not on my line, don't come in my country. Well, those people are coming here for a reason. Our hands were all over Central America during the 60s and the 70s. And now, leading up to what, 2000, was it 10, I think it was? Hillary Clinton, the Secretary of State. What about Libya with the open slave trade that's now there, because we destabilized Libya because we didn't want Gaddafi to have his own currency. We wanted him to stay on the Eurodollar. Or the petro, that's it, the petro, not the euro. Euro's European, and it's worth a lot more than our money right now. Except in France, and we're going to get to that. But anyway, guys, once again, happy Human Rights Day, and hope you spend it with a friend. Yeah, moving on. I'd like to begin tonight officially on a story of this young lady here that's pictured right there. Her name is Cyntoia Brown. Now, Miss Cyntoia Brown, in this picture, she's only, 16 years old? I think she's 16 in this picture. When she was only 16 years old, she was convicted of murder. As she describes it, she ran away from home. She was in an abusive home. She left that home. She was put in a foster care, if I'm not mistaken. She had adoptive parents that she stayed with. She suffered physical, not only physical, but mental damage from a mother who drank alcohol to the point where the fetal damage from the alcohol consumption that her mother had, which in turn inflicted her with a condition. So anyway, she had a very troubled life of abuse and neglect. She's put into adoptive care, and she runs away, and she's taken in by a pimp who rapes her and beats her and threatens her. The name of the pimp is Cutthroat, and he was pretty cutthroat. On the night in question, when the incident occurred, which sent her to jail, she says that Cutthroat told her she better get out there and get him some money. And she went out to do just that. She met a man by the name of Johnny Mitchell Allen. Now, this is back in 2004. Johnny Mitchell Allen was 43 years old. She's 16 in this picture, but I think she was 15 when this actually occurred. What happened next is, I don't know, sort of up to debate. Now, according to Miss Cyntoia, she was willing to prostitute herself to get some money from Mr. Allen. But Mr. Allen decided, well, instead of taking her to a hotel, he wanted to take her to his house, which he did. And according to Miss Brown, he began to show her all of the guns that he had around his home and to talk a lot about his sharpshooting skills and his ability to kill. She says that she was afraid of Mr. Allen. And in the middle of the night, he reached for something under the bed. She thought he may be reaching for a gun. And she said she shot him out of fear for her life. She, in turn, said she panicked. She grabbed money. She grabbed his car keys, and she fled. She was later apprehended, and she was also charged with murder. Okay, so that's what brings us up to speed, so to speak. There was a documentary done on Miss Cyntoia Brown. I think that documentary came out in 2010. It was a PBS documentary, subject of an Independent Lens documentary, which chronicled her life and sort of what happened to Miss Brown, how she ended up in this predicament. Notable stars have talked about her because what happened, her sentencing was so heavy-handed. She was sentenced to 51 years in prison. Now, Miss Brown, her contention is that she was afraid for her life. She was 16 years old. She was afraid for her life. This man had just tried to have sex with her. She was there for that purpose. But we know if you're 15 years old and there's a 43-year-old and you need to get money because you got a 30-something-year-old pimp who's going to beat the crap out of you, it's not the same. It's not the same as a person who just decides to live this type of life. Then you also mix in the troubled background, the condition, the alcohol-related condition that she was born with no fault of her own. You lay all these things down, you go, wow, okay, it's a travesty, it's horrible. It's always horrible when anybody loses their life. But to further exasperate the issue, or to further make matters worse, not better, by giving a 16-year-old 51 years in prison, I don't see how that betters anything. You know, I sent out a tweet about this story because it touched me to such a high degree. I mean, we got a 16-year-old who says she feared for her life. And, of course, the family of Mr. Mitchell Allen, Johnny Mitchell Allen, of course, they may feel differently. They may feel like, that's their loved one and they want justice they want justice for their friend or son or whatever relationship they have for Mr. Allen. But what I'm saying is we can't overlook the fact that we were talking about a child. We were talking about a child who, for lack of a better term, was being traded for sex by grown men. And when she said she feared for her life and she acted out, she said she did this in self-defense. Well, who makes self-defense claims and no one questions it? Grown men with guns and badges and vests and tasers and walkie-talkies where they can call more men with guns and badges and vests. Yeah, police officers make the claim of fear for their life all the time and no one questions it. They don't even get indicted, let alone sentenced. When we have a 16-year-old child who's been abused, who's being trafficked, who's being pimped out by an older man, this man who took her to his house for sex, well, we're assuming that, some people, even the people who say, oh, well, we don't believe her story, but still, we have a situation where a grown man is picking up, hey, look at this young child. She looks like a child. She looks like a child. So he's picking up young girls, taking them back to his house to have his way with them. He's not totally, you don't see anything wrong with this picture. So my point has been, to all those people out there who have asked me, Tim, you seem to be totally in the bag for Cyntoia Brown. I'd say to you, I don't see how I can't be. It's not that I'm in the bag for Cyntoia Brown. I'm in the bag for justice. I'm in the corner of justice. And Miss Cyntoia Brown is a child. Now, if you're comfortable with underage women being taken advantage of by 40-something-year-old men for money, or if you're cool with pimps taking vulnerable children, which is what she was, and using them to fund their lifestyles and abusing them, whatever, that's on you. But as for this channel and as for what I do, I won't stand for it. I'm going to call it out every time. So Cyntoia Brown, look it up. It's a story. It's still ongoing. What can happen now is, as this enters this last phase for appeals, there's a possibility that a judge who's about to leave the bench could make one of his lasting acts. This judge could change this and lower this sentence because that's what's needed. And one last thing before we leave this, you know, there's a story right at the same time of a Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Jeffrey Epstein is a admitted serial abuser of women. He's also a multimillionaire. Now, this man, Jeffrey Epstein, is not accused. He pled guilty to some 80, they say some 80 women. I think the Miami Herald reported on this. There are 80 women that Jeffrey Epstein assaulted, sexually assaulted, in his compound. 36 of those at least were underage. Jeffrey Epstein got a sweetheart deal where all he had to do was plead to 2 cases of prostitution, and this seals the deal. This seals the deal so it can't even be brought up to federal court. He will do no Fed time. In fact, he's already served his little slap on the wrist of 13 months in a local prison, in a jail, not a prison, I'm sorry, a jail, like the county jail. Like the one Otis from Andy Griffith used to lock himself up in. You know, like the one on the sitcoms that the kids go to when they get in trouble. You know, that kind of jail. The fake jail. So, Jeffrey Epstein, millionaire, abuses 80-plus women. Gets sweetheart deal, does 13 months. 15-year-old Cyntoia Brown, victim of being trafficked, of being pimped, of being abused, gets 51 years. Now, I can't make that make sense. Well, you do make sense. It does make sense if you heard my intro, which was the United States is the #1 leader of human rights violations in the world. Case in point. Yep. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is, guys. This is what we deal with. This is where I tell you that this show is brought to you by you. Not the DNC, it's not the GOP, it's not any private organization. It's you. And if you're interested in help funding this show, keeping it live and available to stream, well, become a member of my wolf pack. See that crazy wolf behind me over here? That's my wolf pack, man. Become a member of it. Do so today. You can join for as little as $2 a month. I don't even know what that's equivalent to. I don't know, stick of gum a day, cup of coffee, a month, not even a cup. Come on, guys, join my wolf pack, become a member, and fund independent media. You keep saying that the news lies to you. Well, right here, Tim Black TV, TBTV, Take Back TV is where you get news that you can use. News for people who can't stand the news. Do that today. All right. Oh, wow, man. I've been hearing about this and hearing about it, so I have to address it, and I have to try to bring it to your attention. It's what's going on here in France. I have a clip for you to check out, and then we're going to have a conversation about France and about the president of France, Emmanuel Macron. Check this out.
Today offering tax breaks and pay raises in an attempt to diffuse the anger that has spread from the countryside right into the heart of Paris. Charlie D'Agata is there.
Parts of Paris became a battlefield for the fourth week running. Yellow vest protesters squaring off against riot police, who opened up with stun grenades, tear gas, rubber bullets, and water cannon. Under deepening pressure to diffuse the fury, French President Emmanuel Macron tonight took his share of the responsibility. I may have given the impression that I did not care about you, that I had other priorities, he said. I also know I have hurt some of you with my words. He promised new measures to take place immediately, raising the minimum wage by $115 a month to roughly $12 an hour, tax cuts for retirees, and asking companies to give workers tax-free year-end bonuses. Watching the speech from a roadside camp, yellow vest protesters we spoke with were unimpressed. I think we're going to be here until Christmas, said 23-year-old Alex Gogard. He's taking us for idiots. It's garbage. He's got to go. There is no set list of demands. It's largely a working-class revolt and a distrust of the man they call the president of the rich. We asked whether other yellow vests would feel the same way.
Oui. No doubt. They will. Everybody will. Tous.
Now, the big question tonight, the only question, is whether the French president has said and done enough to avoid a repeat of the violent demonstrations still scheduled to take place right here next weekend. Jeff?
Charlie D'Agata from Paris tonight. Thank you for
gas, rubber bullets, and...
Okay, so let's see if we can... We'll leave it there on him. Leave it there on Mr. Macron. Okay, so President Emmanuel Macron, they called him the president of the rich. And that would apply to pretty much every president of the United States. The president of the rich. Yeah. Sounds like maybe some folks in France, they kind of get it. And they don't want it anymore. Here goes the update on what happened over the weekend. This weekend marked Act 4 of the Yellow Vest protests, during which a staggering 1,939 people were arrested on Saturday across France. 1,082 of them in Paris alone, which included 52 women and 95 minors, while 264 people were injured in the anti-government protests, which have seen widespread looting and violence. Most of the suspects were arrested for acts of violence against a person in the custody of the public authority. That would mean the police. Possession of explosive products or carrying weapons, according to BFM TV. Now, as I've been reading this, the information about what's happening there in France, I noticed that Macron has been pretty much silent. In fact, this was the first time that Macron spoke up since the civil unrest began. And now we're saying, well, I'm sorry if I'm sorry that I haven't been the right type of president, or, blah, 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 blah. Please stop embarrassing me. Blah, 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 blah. Threat. Blah, 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 blah. Appease platitude. Blah, 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 blah. Or something like that. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the protesters are going to go for it. Macron is saying he will not allow them to continue with the violence, and that he will use all means necessary. That means more people are going to get hurt. That's what that means. And here's the problem with that, Macron. See, when people have nothing to lose, they don't have anything to lose. See, the reason why in America, because people, I know you're thinking it, Americans, what's it going to take for us to do what they're doing in France? Well, see, in America, we have a little bit more to lose. Like Netflix. Yeah. Some of us still watch football. Yeah. You know, we want to know what's going to happen with Cardi B. You know, and is she going to get back with old boy? These things matter, man. You got time to be out here trying to make sure the government works for the people? Got to be a new Game of Thrones coming out soon. So that's what's wrong with us. That's why we're not doing what we need to do. Now, Macron said he did start talking about money, which, of course, is important. Macron, whose approval rating is at an all-time low, says he has asked his government to increase wages by 100 euros per month, beginning in January as part of a series of new measures to be released in detail on Tuesday. He also announced that overtime hours won't be subjected to payroll tax and that his administration will scrap a tax hike on poor and low-income retirees. Furthermore, Macron asked companies to pay end-of-year bonuses, which won't be taxed, and will suspend a CSG levy on pensions below 2,000 euros per month. Macron also said that immigration must be debated, as well as anti-immigrant sentiment has spread throughout Europe. Well, as far as the anti-immigrant sentiment, I'll just say this. Whenever people's pockets are tight, they look over to their left and they look to their right, and they blame who they might. That is what happens. When there's prosperity, no one cares who's doing what. But let the cupboards be dry. Let the money not add up. Let people start having less. And let these people be faced with the prospect of their children having less than they have. Oh, well, you got yourself a situation. It's sort of a powder keg, just waiting to explode. Well, I've reached out to a friend of the show who's in Paris. And hopefully once the riots, well, if the riots end, hopefully we'll be able to get him on the channel to give us firsthand knowledge of what happened. Because I believe, even though I think I'm reading something accurate, I'm thinking the couple of sources that I've seen are truthful. You never really know, and it's always better to have eyes on the ground. Support independent media. That's the way we really find out what's happening. All right. Now, before we go to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, let me let the president of France go about his business. How about we do that? I gotta talk about this story, guys. All right, it's about Donald Trump. Okay. So Donald Trump put out a tweet today, which had a lot of media people poking fun at it. Trump's tweet was misspelled. He had a couple of typos, which he's prone to do. It's not his first typo, but whenever he does it, it becomes big news because, yeah, got to talk about something, and, you know, clicks equal chicks. Chicks dig clicks. All right? So Trump's mocking gun becomes mocking fun for some. Donald Trump sent out this tweet. And I really hope I got this tweet. I don't think I grabbed this tweet. You know what? I'm going to grab this tweet. Hopefully this system will hold up to let me show you the actual tweet. The tweet of the Trump tweet. All right? So this tweet went out. Real Donald Trump. All right. This would be early in the morning. Yeah. Democrats can't find. Here we go. Found it. Not bad at all. So this tweet went out by President Donald Trump early in the morning. See if I can grab it here. Here we go. We're going to call this. Stop. The Trump tweet. Save as Trump tweet. And here goes the tweet I'm referring to. Bam. 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 Here we go, guys. Democrats can't find a smoking gun or a smocking gun. Tying the Trump campaign to Russia after James Comey's testimony. No smocking gun, no collusion. At Fox News. That's because there was no collusion. So now the Dems go to a simple private transaction, wrongly call it a campaign contribution. See, you guys missed it. You didn't catch it. See, Democrats can't find a smocking gun. Get it? I'm sure you get it. See, he meant to say smoking gun, but he said smocking gun. A smocking gun. He misspelled smoking. Oh, man. He misspelled smoking, y'all. Ain't that something? And then he did it again because it says no smocking gun. No smocking gun. No collusion. You know, sometimes I wonder if part of my frustration is your frustration. You know, like, are we frustrated on the same things? Are we tired of the same BS that we have to put up with corporate media? Are we tired of the same BS that we put up with all types of media, frankly, that focus on shit like this? Now, I'm reporting on this because I'm doing so to ridicule and shame the bastards who would make this important. The people that talked about this smocking gun as if this was important to the rest of people. You know, regular people, working people. See, me, I'm a working people, just like you're a working people. You know, I guess I could care more about this if it weren't for the fact that I have a real life and for the fact that there are real things going on in this country that need attention that they hardly ever talk about on corporate media. You know, like the fact that every day 22 veterans commit suicide. Oh no, got to talk about the smocking gun. Or maybe the fact that black children living under poverty. 33.7% of black children live beneath the poverty number. Children under the age of, say, 5. No fault of their own. They haven't been playing the hippity hop with the pants hanging down. They're 5. They can't afford food. That's the households they live in. But no, smocking gun is fun, right? People incarcerated. Every day, America has 2.2 million people incarcerated. But no, we got to talk about that smocking gun. Who cares that we're only 5% of the world's population, but we house 20% of the world's prisoners? We're winning. We got the biggest number of people in jail. Smocking gun fun, y'all. Smocking gun. That's what's up. Well, I don't know. People without health care. We're killing it in that area. We got 12.2 people without adequate health care. That's up 3.3 million since Trump took office. And then you say, Tim, what do you criticize Trump about? I don't know. The fact that 3.3 million people, 1.2% more people, lack health care now that he's in office and roll back that Obamacare crap. That was not perfect, but we want less people to be without health care, not more. But why pay attention to that when we could talk about a typo on Twitter? Yeah, that typo on Twitter. That's what we need to focus on, y'all. Keep it real. And last but not least, every day, 115 people OD off of opiates. But who cares about that? We got to talk about smocking guns and typos on social media platforms and make a big deal out of it. Because without it, like I said, we wouldn't get the clicks. And chicks dig clicks. Some of my friends, they've been in my ear, they've been telling me, Tim Black, keep your eyes open. keep your ears open and be on the lookout for the nature of the Democrats to be deceptive. Watch the Republicans occasionally, because you pretty much know what they're going to do, but you got to keep your eye on those Democrats, Timberland. And I'm like, I hear ya. Well, understand this, guys. We can't trust nobody. And once you start trusting anybody, that's when you open yourself up for being fooled. Like Bush said, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you can't be fooled again. Which brings me to my closing story. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Ladies and gentlemen, she sent out a tweet that has the whole, I don't know, all of proper media, propaganda media, corporate media, all of corporate media having a conversation about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Now, we all know that she is the young upstart out there in New York's 13th district, 14th district? I think it's 14th. Kicked butt. She defeated an entrenched Crawley establishment beast in line to take the place of Nancy Pelosi. Become a 28-year-old congressperson representing the good people of Bronx. Well, she's been in front of cameras because, hell, she's photogenic, she's young, she's a democratic socialist. Bernie Sanders endorsed her, and she defeated Jeff Crawley, an entrenched establishment beast who was in line to take Nancy Pelosi's place, and it was unexpected, and bam, she knocked it out the park. And so she's been under the microscope, and yes, the media has been fawning over her. She's been on everything from Jimmy Kimmel to Stephen Colbert, in every chair on MSNBC or CNN. And she's also been under a lot of attack. So finally, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez decided to, well, not finally, she's been fighting back, but she really gave him something to go to. She gave him the old, right there, Fred, she gave him. Here goes the tweet that has people upset and butthurt now. She says, double standards of Paul Ryan being elected at 28 and immediately being given the benefit of his ill-considered policies. Consider genius. And me winning a primary at 28 to immediately be treated with suspicion and scrutinized, down to my clothing, of being a fraud. Now, there are those who are dismissing these comments and they're saying, toughen up, girlie, you need to get it together. Time to grow up and put on your big people underwears. Come on now, you want to get in here, now you got to get ready. And I hear all of that criticism, and I respect it, and I listen. But are you listening to what she's saying? Do you think it's possible that she has a point? Or do you live in the delusional world where there is no sexism, and there is no ageism, and there is no racism? You don't really live in that world, do you? I mean, you can't acknowledge that people have been talking about Paul Ryan for years. I don't really know what the guy's done except grow a beard and lift weights. What's he good for? What's he been good for? They touted him as the numbers guy, the whiz. You don't think that they're both economics majors. They both won a primary. They were both 28 years old. Besides, forget the political ideology. And I know that's hard to do, but set aside what they have a D on their shirt or an R on their shirt and just look at them as human beings and say, what's different about them? Why is one considered extremely a genius, a number guy, the numbers guy, and the other one considered, oh, here goes that freebies girl? I'm telling you what it is. It's misogyny. It's what it is. Well, I mean, come on, guys. They hear this young girl. See, I'm guilty of it too. Look at me. I'm an old guy now. This young lady, she's up there kicking butt. But I love her energy, and I love her spontaneity. I love her spunk. I love the policies that she stands for. And see, that's what's different about me and some of these other people out here. Some of these people are focused on other things, like her clothes, like her sound of her voice, like her hair, like her mannerisms, or what purse she wore, or what clothes she had on. I'm focused on the policies that she supports. And unlike Paul Ryan, if we do want to go back to policy, Alexandria Ocasio supports policies that most of the American public support. So most of the American public want Medicare for all, some form of universal health care coverage. Most Americans want increasing wages. They're in favor of these things. They're in favor of her policies. In fact, a lot of Ocasio's policies are popular, immensely popular with regular people. It's the corporations that don't like them so much. With Paul Ryan, it's always been the opposite. Get it? Look, I'm not here to say everything. Of course, there's been missteps. Of course there's been missteps. I mean, you're thrust onto the world stage, and you gotta go. It's time to speak and talk and get it right. Make it happen. So anyone can make mistakes, but at the end of the day, it's not about any of the superficial BS that they like to focus on to sell these damn clicks, to give them the chicks, and also get them the bricks. They should be focusing on the policies, right? Now, I don't know who Paul Ryan defeated to get into Congress, if he defeated anyone at all. He's been there quite a while. In fact, he is now leaving. He's ready to turn in his gavel. So, what will Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez actually do? What will she get done? I have no idea, but I'm willing to see. And I think we're going to find out. And then there will be time for criticism when there's actually work being submitted and bills being put into action, legislation being formed and change being built, and some fruits of one's labor. Then will be room to talk and to scrutinize and to analyze. But right now there hasn't really been that. She just got in. So whether you agree with her or not, whether you think her policy points are just giving money away or not, maybe did she move a comma, add an extra zero? But search your heart of hearts and ask yourself, did she have a point when she says Paul Ryan was overrated and she was overhated? I think she does. But you'd have to search your heart. You'd have to have one to search it. And you'd have to be willing to put aside your politics and how you may personally feel to look at it objectively and say, you know what? She just started the job. In fact, she's in training. Kind of. Like, what they call it? 90-day training intro program or something. So give her a break. And Ocasio, kick some ass. Watching you. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Tim Black at Night show. We will be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully everything is all resolved. We've updated everything we needed to update in order to be able to live stream. I hope. Look, my fingers are crossed, man. You never really know. This is the internets. I want to thank everybody who tuned into the show tonight. All my friends, all my folks over there. And I want to give a big shout out to my Patreons. And my friend Justin, I want to give a shout out to Justin. A shout out to my friend Little Sis. And just let you know, I know you're going through some tough times right now. That tough times don't last, tough people do. And I've got your back the way you've had mine. Let me know if I can help. All right, people, I'll see you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. We are out of here. Oh, go to justinforum.com and don't forget, pick up my coffee. I got Tim Black coffee now, guys. It's the bomb. And every pound that you buy, there's a donation that will be made to a charity and also a donation that goes to the country of Origin, where they got the coffee beans. Beans, yeah. So it's a give back thing. So the coffee's good and we do some good. All right. I'll see you soon.